Okay, three more skills that we'll try to cover here. And with these skills, two of them are pretty darn easy, and one of them gets a little more complicated. So let's look at all three. Most of the time, you're going to be given somewhere to start on this chart. A lot of times, especially with our labs, we're focusing on these letters. So you might have to, like if you're asked about a Naples tree, right here, you would find letter Q and go from there. You know what I mean? So say let's ask about a beluga whale. Okay, the beluga whale is going to be right here, which is also the same letter as a mastodon, which is O. So the three things that we need to be able to figure out. First, what is a beluga whale? Well, if we look right here, it's on the mammal line, so it's part of the mammals. Okay, we know what whales are. What life on Earth events were happening at that point? So these are New York State fossils, okay? But on Earth in general, what kind of corresponds with that? So I would look over here to this life on Earth column, and I would just see, there's not much. Humans were around then. Mastodons, mammals, okay? Life on Earth, that is happening during what's called the Pleistocene epoch, or the Quaternary period. Okay. Other things that match up, all of these are just life on Earth events that happened at different times. So like the earliest birds happened in the late Jurassic period. And you can just find different events here. There's different descriptions. You have to look through here and find, like, Earth's first forests happened there. Abundant Eurypterids. You see abundant a lot. That means like a lot of. Abundant just means a lot. Like I have abundant love for earth science. So you just match up anything left to right. Now at the same time, these are New York State fossils. This is a New York State course, and things are focused on New York State. So life-wise, you would go towards the left. Geology-wise, you'd go towards the right. And sometimes you're asked to look up what was happening geologically in New York State at the same time as something else. The advance and retreat of continental ice was going on there. Other big geologic events, the dome-like uplift of the Adirondack region, that happens right here. So you're just looking things up here. What was going on when the Adirondack started to uplift? You can come over here, and you can see nothing matches up completely perfectly, but diverse bony fishes matches up best. So that's what was going on Earth with life. And we're talking early Cretaceous. And remember, early, this is the beginning of the Cretaceous. This is the end of the Cretaceous, because we're looking at time on Earth, and the deeper you go, the older things are. So those are the first two skills. The third skill is a little more difficult. You can find fossils of beluga whales in New York State. Now, where would you try to look to find those fossils? New York State has rocks anywhere that lines up here, has fossils anywhere that lines up here. Some of these times there's no rocks, no fossils being made because erosion got rid of the rocks, or the conditions in New York State weren't good for fossils, for rocks to be made at certain times. So you can see that there's a really long rock record, Cambrian through the Devonian in New York State. Where would I look to find fossils this age? Well, I'm looking for fossils that were around during the Pleistocene or Quaternary time period. So for that, you have to go to page 2 and 3. Okay, and the first thing I do is I look at the rocks in New York State. And down here, it tells you how old each of these rocks are, and it just takes some looking. There's really old rocks from the Proterozoic. There's Cambrian rocks. There's Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian rocks. If I wanted a Devonian rock, I would look for the dots. If I wanted to find Silurian fossils, I'd go to the rocks that have straight up and down lines. Okay, there's this key that tells you. I want to try to find that beluga whale in New York State. I need to go to the Pleistocene rocks, Pleistocene soils, which is going to look like this symbol. And where do I see that symbol? Okay, so I'm going to look on my map for that, and I'm going to look over here, and I see the symbol in Long Island. But this is not my landscape region. So yes, I could say that I'd go to Long Island. But if I'm asked for what landscape region would I go to, I come down here and I have to match up my location to my landscape region, which would be over here. I'd have to call it the Atlantic Coastal Plain. Okay, so each of these landscape regions are there because the rocks underneath them make them. Okay, the Adirondack Mountains is a landscape region because this is made of really hard rocks. The Tug Hill Plateau and the Allegheny Plateau are there. We studied a little bit Niagara Falls. There's this plateau, makes an escarpment, might ring a bell, but these plateaus are here because there's certain types of rocks that make the plateau. What types of rocks make the Allegheny Plateau? It's this symbol here, which is this symbol there. These Devonian rocks. So if I wanted a Devonian fossil, that's where I would go. Okay, so everything is kind of tied together, and you can go back and forth between the charts and hopefully make some sense of them.